Never evaluate a warrior based solely on their skill. The harshest survival tales are concealed behind some of the most colorful faces. Let's be practical. Before it turns into a battleground, it's a boon to appear younger than you actually are. According to research, people who seem much younger than their actual age are frequently ignored, passed over for leadership roles, and even singled out because they are thought to be inexperienced, unsophisticated, or easily swayed. And that glow isn't just skincare and green juice if you're selected. It's heavenly defense. It's surgery for the soul. Good lighting is the key to its elegance. The crazy part comes next. They believe you haven't lived at all since they can't see what you've been through. Unaware that they have unleashed a seasoned spiritual assassin disguised as a young person, they attempt to play you like a child. They thought, "Oh, we can take this down easily," after seeing your adorable face. However, they are unaware that you have already left the fire they are still blazing for other people. This section is for people who were misunderstood, denigrated, and treated disrespectfully because, despite their claims that your soul said, "I met God in the wild," your spark was in your 20s. What do you want? We will also laugh a little, so don't worry. Because you deserve a laugh if a 50-year-old narcissist tried to teach you valuable lessons while you stealthily destroyed their entire life. So fasten your seatbelt. They will be wishing they had asked for your wisdom instead of your wrinkles after watching this video. Let's get started. They initially mistook your youthful appearance for emotional immaturity. They assumed you were emotionally tender because you appeared youthful. Their first error was that this person must be naive, inexperienced, or easily influenced. They believed they could lie to you, deceive you, or even make you doubt yourself, based on your calm demeanor, bright eyes, and smooth skin. They believed they could mold, manipulate, or restrain you. They were unaware, however, that your youthful appearance was not a sign of ignorance. It came about because of wisdom. You had an easy life, so you didn't look young. Because you had battled for peace and recovered from storms, you appeared youthful. They were unable to see your internal conflicts. You didn't apologize for the betrayals you overlooked, the struggles you faced on a spiritual level when you had no one to guide you. They were unaware of the difficult times when you had to take care of yourself, console yourself, and reassemble your identity. They were unable to comprehend that beneath your new look were fragments of yourself that had been broken by loneliness, rejection, and heartbreak. They were unaware that you already knew who you were, which is why you exuded such quiet confidence. You didn't think it was necessary to demonstrate it. Because of this, you were able to resist their attempts to manipulate you. You easily passed their tests when they attempted to push you to the limit. Before they spoke, you witnessed their strategies. Before they even opened their mouths, you could feel their energy. You were 10 moves ahead of them while they believed they were playing chess. You had played that game in real life countless times, so it wasn't for the win. They thought you were stupid because you were soft. However, you allowed them. Because giving someone the impression that they are smarter than you is the best way to expose their true nature. Now that the truth is out, they are unable to accept that the person they believe to be their easy target is actually 10 times smarter than they are, blessed and protected. In a new body, you also carry ancient energy. People were perplexed when they first met you. Even though you were young, energetic, and full of life, there was something heavy, profound, and ancient about you. They sensed it but couldn't quite place their finger on it. They considered you to be a young person who had not seen much and was still getting to know the world. In actuality, though, your soul had journeyed to realms beyond the realm of most people's imagination. You didn't have the vitality of a brand new person. You bore the burden of one who had witnessed everything and returned with heavenly directives. They were unable to comprehend that. How could someone with such a youthful appearance speak so authoritatively? How could someone with such a tender demeanor have eyes that appeared to have seen spiritual truth, triumph, and suffering for generations? Neither trends nor textbooks shaped you. The fires of real-life struggles, supernatural revelations, and divine encounters changed you from the inside out. The power that passed through you was different from what they observed on the outside, and they underestimated you as a result of this mismatch. They pretended to be offering you advice, but all they were doing was restating concepts that you had already outperformed years prior. In places where no one came to your aid, they attempted to teach you lessons you had already learned in silence and without cheering. They believed they were more intelligent, sophisticated, and gifted. However, Whenever you spoke, they fell silent inside. The truth touched a spot they weren't prepared to face, not because you were yelling. You have an old energy. You haven't learned that. You do remember it. The more you move toward your calling, the more it comes alive inside you. Timeliness is not why you are here. Your purpose is to disturb them. You don't just follow reason. On revelation, you take action. People are either attracted to you or exposed by you because of this. Your facial glow is a sign of divine protection. But sacred memory is what gives your words their power. They believed you were unfamiliar with this. They believed they could trick you. But as soon as they came into contact with your energy, they understood that they were facing something older, wiser, and more dangerous than they could have ever imagined. Third, they came across a warrior in disguise, but they had anticipated timidity. They anticipated your timidity. They believed that if they put pressure on you, you would back down, give up, or collapse. They play that game all the time. When they see someone who seems gentle, soft, and carefree, they think that person is weak. You had the appearance of someone who was easily shaken, calm, and youthful. They were unaware, however, that beneath that serene exterior lay a person who had experienced more combat than they could ever fathom. They believed you were a simple target, but instead they found someone who had already mastered the art of standing by themselves, speaking up when needed, and quietly leaving. Although you were quiet, you were powerful. They didn't realize your silence was discipline. They thought it was fear. They anticipated that you would seek their approval, but you didn't even bat an eyelid when they refused to give it to you. They attempted to provoke you, and they were taken aback when all they received was boundaries and clarity. Then they understood. It wasn't appropriate to play with you. Unlike the others, you did not react. Their titles, fake confidence, or passive-aggressive tactics didn't affect you. They had plans to manipulate you, and now they're trying to figure out why nothing worked. The truth is, they were dealing with a warrior in disguise. You didn't come prepared for war. You came with grace, peace, and silence. But that didn't mean you weren't prepared. What they couldn't see was that you weren't trained by your appearance, but by your experiences. You had already learned to read energy, recognize patterns, and act wisely. You didn't need to shout to make an impact. You didn't have to fight to win. Your power wasn't in the volume of your voice. It was within you. And now they don't know how to respond to you. Those who tried to control you are now avoiding you. Those who underestimated you are now questioning themselves. Those who thought you were soft are now realizing that you are strong, sharp, and have no intention of listening to nonsense. You didn't raise your voice, but you raised the standards. That's what shook them. They thought they had entered a playground, but they found someone who had emerged from battle and survived. Fourth, your brilliance was misinterpreted as a willingness to be exploited. They saw your sparkle and thought it made you an easy target. Their perceptions were that shallow. They assumed that because you radiated peace, warmth, and kindness, you were easy to use, easy to make feel guilty, and easy to manipulate. They thought your light meant you would never say no. They saw your compassion and interpreted it as weakness. They didn't realize that your energy was valuable. Just because you shine doesn't mean you can carry everyone else's darkness. Such people always interpret generosity as permission. They take a kind word and assume you will tolerate disrespect. They see that you forgive quickly and think you will tolerate anything. But what they didn't take into account was that your light was not just a sparkle. It was a filter, an established system that revealed their true intentions. The moment they tried to take too much, your soul warned you. Your instincts kicked in. The voice inside you spoke. You may have given people a chance, but when they began to see your light not as a gift to be respected, but as a resource to be consumed, everything inside you changed. What they completely missed was that your light wasn't free. It was earned. You didn't wake up one morning and start glowing. You went through hell, healed your wounds, and chose not to suffer anymore. Your softness is a choice. Peace is the result of struggle. Your joy is an act of rebellion against everything that tries to break you. So when people come into your life thinking they can cling to you, take advantage of you, and drain you, you gracefully, quietly, or by creating distance, cut the ties, but they still get cut. They thought your light was a weakness, but it was a warning, a sign that you were not to be toyed with, that your divine beauty came with divine boundaries. And the truth is, most people don't know what to do with someone like you. Gentle yet not naive, generous yet not easily trusting, brilliant yet not easily accessible. Now their heads are spinning. Why isn't it working? Why did you pull back? Why can't they reach you anymore? Because they didn't come to honor your light. They came to exploit it. And now the door is closed, they're stuck outside, and they blame your attitude, when in reality, they were confronted with your discernment. Fifth, they forgot that God protects those he blesses. They forgot who they were dealing with. They thought they saw someone with good genes or a skincare routine. They couldn't see that your glow didn't come from facials and vitamins. It came from divine protection. God protects you, watches over you, and keeps you safe. The youth they constantly comment on isn't just physical. It's spiritual, proof that you are protected, not because you don't encounter stress, but because God ensures that stress leaves no trace. People think storms leave physical marks, wrinkles, pain, coldness. But in your case, the storm passed, and you emerged somehow softer, lighter, and brighter. This is not normal. It's not natural. It's supernatural. You didn't run from the fire. In the fire, you hid. God shielded your essence even as life tried to tear you apart. People can tell something is different when they look at you because of this. You're at peace despite having been through a battle. Despite your kindness, you have been deceived. Despite having experienced chaos, you remain composed. They now know the meaning of blessings. It denotes divine delay, divine protection, and divine intervention. Your entire journey has been led and shielded by something bigger than yourself, which is why you are not acting the way they expected you to. They believed you were just another face, another light to be extinguished, another person to be controlled, and they were unaware that they were crossing a spiritual boundary line when they came to touch you. Things start to change at this point. They learn that it's not personal to deal with you. It is a transgression of spirituality, because you cannot approach someone in any way when God has set them apart. Even though you can't see it, you are protected by a grace in your life. When no one is looking, angels are keeping watch over your steps. You should have been broken in certain situations, but you weren't. They believed that you were being attacked. In actuality, however, they were acting contrary to God's will. They are currently coping with unanticipated consequences, because He answered, not because you did. Sixth, they underestimated your past because of your appearance. They believed they fully understood you after seeing your face. So serene, so cool, so easygoing. For this reason, they believed you were untested, inexperienced, and oblivious to the dark sides of life. They also believed you had not lived long enough to understand true suffering. But they were completely mistaken. The experiences, lessons, heartbreaks, healings, and divine revelations that most people could not acquire in a lifetime are hidden behind that youthful appearance. Even those closest to you are unaware of the intricacies and silence of the battles you have fought. You shine as though you've never even touched the fire. Despite this, they believed you to be gullible. However, they were unaware of the years of subtly manipulating you. They were unaware that you were grinning at the people who had deceived you behind your back while seated at the table. They were unaware of the number of times you had to regain your confidence after being betrayed by those you trusted. They interpreted your tenderness as an indication of inexperience. They failed to notice that your composure was a result of surviving the storm. You're not here by accident. You earned every ounce of peace, every drop of wisdom, and every glimmer of clarity you currently possess. This is not how you were born. When no one came, when no one cheered for you, when you had to save yourself, you turned into this person in the silence and the darkness. It is a miracle that they see that smile. It's the outcome of your choice to keep your beauty intact despite the pain and light. Spiritual strength covers your tenderness. Their heads are spinning now. They don't comprehend how someone so young can be so resilient, wise, and grounded. However, that's what occurs when people make snap judgments. They understand that you are more than just a war-related book reader. You've experienced it. You're not merely recounting a healing tale. You have endured this challenging procedure. You're not new to this. God protected you, equipped you with pain, and trained you in silence. Your soul walks with the authority of someone who has been through hell and come back with a crown, regardless of how young your face appears. Seventh, they mistook your gentle nature for having a gentle disposition. They came to a dangerous conclusion because they saw your gentle qualities and thought there was no power behind them. Kindness meant weakness to them. To be kind was to be inexperienced. They also thought you were incapable of defending yourself because you didn't seem hostile or boisterous. However, They were unaware that the hardest things a person can go through in order to survive make up your backbone. You didn't discover that strength within yourself when you woke up one morning. It had to be built by you. They had no idea how many times you had to pretend nothing had happened after being deceived. They didn't witness the nights you sobbed yourself to sleep, but you still got up and went about your duties the following day. They didn't see how many times you tried to break people's spirits. And instead of breaking, you grew stronger in silence. Every smile on your face was tested. Every boundary you set was born from pushing your limits too many times. You didn't harden by shouting. When the world told you to give up, you hardened by refusing to bow down. Your strength lies in your self-control. You don't fight every battle. You don't chase every insult. When someone disrespects you, you don't retaliate every time. And because you didn't react the way they expected, they thought you were spineless. But the truth is, holding yourself back was the source of your strength. You used all your strength to prevent this world from turning you into a cold person. It took serious strength not to reflect the hatred directed at you. That's not weakness. Mastery is that. They believed you would be easily subdued, bow down, or give in. They now realize, however, that you are composed of something that is beyond their control. Willpower. Despite your lack of volume, you are unflappable. When it comes to your principles, you are firm but not lenient. They are unable to comprehend how someone so serene and kind can become so determined when challenged. Because comfort does not breed strength. In the fire, it was forged. Those who are attempting to undermine you are now attempting to comprehend how you are able to stand so tall without speaking up. Eighth, they arrived to assert control, but ultimately they revealed themselves. They came out with a sense of superiority. They believed they were more intelligent, more seasoned, and more in charge. They brought mind games, tactics, and manipulations. In order to maintain control over you, they were prepared to assert their dominance, misrepresent your statements, and entice you into a maze of confusion. However, something changed the instant they stepped into your personal space. Your energy was what they weren't expecting. It didn't struggle. It didn't pursue. The game was not played by it. It just showed that their masks started to come off as you stood by them. Their insecurities started to grow without you saying anything. They started to reveal their lies, guilt, and shame. There was no need for you to reveal them. It was your presence that made it happen. They believed they could mold and manipulate you. However, you were a mirror, and mirrors are truthful. They were shaken by that. They thought you would be perplexed. Rather, they discovered that your silence caused them to unravel. You refrained from attacking. You noticed. You allowed them to speak. You allowed them to be themselves. They were surprised by how uncomfortable that would be, because their energy was not pure, whereas yours was. Their spirit was dispersed, but yours was strong. They walked in with control and pride. However, upon realizing the situation, they were confronted with every aspect of themselves that they had been attempting to conceal. You appeared to be a simple target, someone who could be emotionally cornered, tricked, or controlled. However, you ultimately revealed how flawed and flimsy their strategies were. They no longer wished to approach you. They couldn't hide from themselves when they were around you, not because you hurt them. Because of that, you're dangerous. You don't need to fight for the truth. You carry it with you. You don't need to summon the darkness. It reveals itself in your presence. You were never the one being tested. They were. And in the end, you stood. They fell. You weren't their prey. You were their lesson. Number 9. You looked like a toy, but you moved like an instrument of God. They approached you as if you were a toy, to play with, test, control, or entertain themselves. They saw your light and thought it meant weakness. They saw your calmness and thought it meant ignorance. In their minds, you were a puzzle they could solve, a game they could win, a person they could handle. However, they did not touch anything weak. They were abusing something that wasn't typical. That object was set apart, covered, and sacred. They also lost more money as a result of that error than they anticipated. You don't act with pride, so at first they didn't notice it. You don't lead by using your power. You give people permission to assume things. You allow them to show themselves. And they did. They made their intentions known. Their pride was exposed. Their true intentions were exposed. They set a spiritual trap for themselves, which they set for you, and they fell into it in their attempt to comprehend you. You behaved differently. You were kind when they expected you to be angry. You didn't say anything when they tried to make a scene. You retreated when they attempted to pull you into the chaos. Instead of finding emotional weakness, they discovered divine restraint. This was the first indication that you were not who they believed you to be. They believed that they could easily control the person they were dealing with. Ultimately, however, they encountered a being who had been cleansed by God. What frightens them now is that their attempts exposed them, not because they were incapable of playing you. People took notice. It was not necessary for you to reveal them. The truth was exposed by their own actions. Their credibility started to decline. They began to be questioned. The whole thing started to collapse. And God protected those he had blessed, not you, which is why none of this occurred. Never were you a toy. You were put to the test. You were sent to uncover hidden motives, reveal the truth, and break hearts. After everything has calmed down, they acknowledge that they never had control. They believe they were engaged in a game. However, they were on hallowed territory. They are currently coping with the fallout from believing that God's instrument could be used and then discarded. 10. Wisdom broke them, but grace disarmed them. Initially, they were drawn in by grace. The softness of your voice, your manner, and your movements were all comforting, welcoming, and disarming. You didn't display your ego. You made no effort to win anyone over. For attention, you didn't fight. And that was precisely what attracted them. They believed they had found a person who was easy to control and gentle enough to influence. They didn't try to grasp your depth because they were so preoccupied with your beauty. They stayed close to you, thinking they were superior. You weren't confrontational. You didn't raise your voice. You gave people space to talk. This made them feel comfortable, too comfortable. And just when they thought they had you figured out, you opened your mouth and started talking. Not in an ordinary way, not for show, but with divine sensitivity. Not from books, gossip, or trends, but from God, from lived experiences, from wounds that were not hidden but healed. The moment you spoke the truth, something broke inside them. They heard something they weren't ready to hear. Not because it was cruel, but because it was honest. Even though you weren't attempting to prove anything, your statements were significant. Even though you weren't attempting to correct anyone, your presence broke their foolishness. What they believed to be merely a lovely face turned out to be a divine mission in human form, and what they hoped to control ultimately forced them to face themselves. It was too much for them to bear. A few went out in silence. Someone made an attempt to disparage you behind your back. Others just disappeared. You saw them, not because you injured them. You spoke from a position of authority that they couldn't imitate or pretend to have, from a place they couldn't get to. You weren't giving sermons. You were in motion. They were aware that they couldn't keep up. They're fleeing from you now, not because you did anything wrong, but because being in your presence forces one to confront all of their small, dishonest, and unhealed inner demons. Although your wisdom dispelled all of their false beliefs about you and them, you didn't come to destroy anyone. And now, the quiet around you is a sign of respect rather than rejection. Now that they realize you will never be a toy, they talk less. 11. They condemned your essence, but they condemned your appearance. They assumed you were someone who was simple to deal with, influence, and control after seeing your face, smile, and serene demeanor. Everything about you appeared effortless from the outside. They believed you to be a shallow, even lighthearted, person they could shape to suit their needs. They were unaware that your presence was not only aesthetically pleasing, but also confrontational from a spiritual standpoint. People weren't expecting your energy to bring them out, but it did more than just draw them in. They came to you because they were attracted to what looked appealing. However, after staying for a while, they started to experience uneasiness that they were unable to describe. You didn't dispute. You didn't speak louder. You made no accusations. But they started to panic inside. The aspects of themselves that they had concealed for years started to be disturbed by your composure. The chaos they had never been able to handle started to tremble when you remained silent. For them, what was peaceful turned into conflict. It had more to do with who you are than with what you said. They believed they could mold, influence, and shape you into their own image, but you refused to back down and instead remained true to who you are. And in doing so, you started to reveal their true instability, insecurity, and inconsistent nature. They didn't require your diagnosis. Without using words, your essence accomplished that. Their lack of self-control was revealed by your discipline. Their false confidence was exposed by your self-respect. Their perplexity was intolerable due to your clarity. They were faced with the truth after judging the appearance. And they couldn't handle that. You were more than just pretty. You provoked spiritual thought. You weren't here to amuse. You came to wake up. And they no longer remember your appearance when they think of you. They felt that way about you. Uncomfortable, guilty, and unprepared. The part they wrote for you was not played by you. To make them feel big, you refused to shrink yourself. And because you were more than just a person in their lives, they now shun your name, your presence, and even your memories. The mirror they weren't prepared to examine was you. 12. You appear youthful. It's time to get on with your mission. You appear younger than that. You've been shielded, not by accident, by divine design, not just heredity. You were running on an entirely different program while everyone else was rushing against time, attempting to slow it down or reverse it. You were not kept young by God for pride or acclaim. Because it was necessary for your mission, He kept you that way. Everything about you, your look, your vitality, your energy, was timed perfectly. You didn't have to get to the top first. You didn't have to get noticed right away and burn out before your character was completely developed. God postponed the obvious symptoms of aging because of this. He did this because you needed to be strong, nimble, and prepared for your mission at a very specific moment, not because you are superior to others. Your current situation calls for impact, clarity, and resilience. You couldn't have done these things if you had aged the way life attempted to age you. God therefore protected you rather than allowing the world to wear you down, not only physically but also mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. There is a reason you have been shielded from time. There were moments when you felt invisible, unheard of, and as though nothing was happening. However, you were unaware at the time that God was actually protecting you rather than punishing you. Behind the scenes, He was keeping you safe from the things that would smother your fire and age your soul. And now that people are starting to know you, they're surprised. You still look the same. You appear prepared. Despite your tough appearance, you've been through a lot. It simply didn't make a lasting impression on you. Your strategy includes your youth. It enables you to enter areas that are off limits to others. People become less defensive and are astounded by your depth and wisdom. It enables you to interact with people of all ages without losing your authority.